Welcome to Abstract Illusions Radio with host Jennifer Hillman. The show explores and reveals the human potential through creativity. So enjoy the show to create a life you love.
I watch you in the distance, your body moving art, as you close the distance between us. My heart exhales, reverberating her howl against boundaries of skin. Faster, harder, sharper, like a caged wild animal desperately trying to free herself so she can dance wildly in our magnetic circle of fire.
Welcome to Abstract Illusions Radio. And I'm sorry, I'm getting chills on my leg. This was one of the works of Brandie Smith, who is a brilliant poet, writer, who also happens to be a manager editor at Some Talk of You and Me. She's also a columnist and an apprentice editor at Elephant Journal. Her background is in law. So, I mean, it's amazing. And Brandie, thank you for opening that show with that. I mean, literally, I was getting chills with your poetry.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm getting chills from everything you're saying about it.
um, I have gotten in touch with your work through many websites, through Elephant Journal. You've been on Rebel Society, haven't you, as well?
I actually have not been on Rebel.
Oh, I
Elephant
thought it.
has,
Elephant? Okay.
yeah. That's been my main place where I've written longer works,
Okay.
aside from the poetry.
And I think it was because we took a class together.
Yes, definitely. The
And
the
that's
30
where
days of writing.
I saw a lot of your work as well. And you have always fascinated me with your style of writing. And I knew when I decided to do the series on poets that I had to include you.
Oh, thank you so much. When I got your email, I was definitely very honored. So thank you for thinking of me.
How did you get into poetry, or in what way did you decide maybe this is a really good, strong statement or methodology for me to use?
It's definitely been quite a journey because it's always been one of my passions to write. And when I was younger, I did a lot more fiction writing. I was really into in any essay or anything I would do in school. I was really just into trying to make it as creative as possible. That was always my strong suit. Um, and then I think it wasn't until I really actually committed to my life, committed to the passion that I have in my life, that I got more into poetry because it was almost a shift in listening to the voice that speaks within myself as opposed to a lot of the um, cerebral, heady stuff that I was kind of into the most. So as far as what I've been doing currently, probably within the past year, the main impetus of it was the course that I think we took this one together, the 30 Days of Writing Yourself Alive.
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't actually start doing the poetry during that course. I was doing a lot more free flow, just improvisational writing. But then as the course came to an end, I was really just trying to think of a way that I could continue writing every day because oftentimes if I put too much pressure on myself to write a certain number of words, it kind of interferes with my creative process. So I figured that if I committed to 17 syllables a day, I could probably do it.
And
And
your poetry comes up and it's like, oh, I gotta make sure to read this.
oh, um, thank you. Yeah, it's it's interesting the way where these words come from because I really do feel like when they are coming through me that they are coming from a deeper place. I have a lot of background in energy healing. I'm a Reiki master. I do a lot of meditation. So I spend a lot of time in the inner crevices of myself. And when I'm writing, it definitely feels like that's where that voice is coming from. So sometimes I'll be in the moment and these words will come up and I reread them about, a minute later as I'm getting ready to post them, and I don't even know where they came from.
Isn't it? It's like awe-inspiring, isn't it? At times it's like, wow, that's good. Who wrote it?
Yeah, exactly. It's um it's it's definitely a fun thing to be able to make yourself blush.
Well, so in that way, how has poetry really opened you up to your life?
I think the best way of describing it is that um, it's really just put me in touch with this fierce, wild goddess woman creature that I have living inside of me. And that has been something that has really,
With that being said, how has poetry really opened up in your life?
well, I think that what it's done the most is that it's made me want to really live my life from the inside out. So when I sit with these words, when I feel these words coming through me, it's been giving me a clearer feeling, a clearer picture of who I am, like from my deepest places, from my soul, from my spirit. And what I've been seeing and feeling is this fierceness and this hunger and this passion for life and for wanting to um, live authentically. And when I say authentically, I mean from the voice that lives at my deepest places, from the light and the darkness, and acknowledging the completeness of who I am in this spirit and this body. So um, I think that that's probably been the biggest influence of writing this poetry, is that it is really um, fascinating to hear and to feel the um, reality of who I am.
I think it's time for another haiku.
Okay. So the one I'm choosing is kind of, it talks about this battle that I was just, actually, that pertains very well to this question, and it is: when I am alone, feelings of freedom and fear battle for my soul.
I'm speechless.
Thank you. I think that one actually resonated with,
Just about everyone.
yeah, with
Anybody
a lot of
breathing.
people. But it is that strangeness of really when you sit with yourself. And, there was a long time in my life where I really ignored a lot of the darkness. And when I say darkness, I just mean like the shadow aspects, like, or whatever it means for anybody, because it can be different things. And just knowing the difference between those two voices and knowing when to fight them and when to integrate them is such a I think such an important dance that we all have to play with each other, with our inner selves.
I agree. And a good way of doing that dance and finding that balance for me has always been that poetry because you can see both sides so clearly
Right.
within the words.
Yeah. Yeah, and they might be bone chilling, but they're not as frightening when you see them on paper for some reason.
Well, don't you feel like you're witnessing?
Yeah, exactly.
I always feel like we mentioned before, it's like it comes through us. So it's like you stand back and you're witnessing the battle, even though you know it's within you. But you see that dance, that magical dance of words on the paper.
Yeah.
And it, to me, it's always been almost this great orgasmic feeling only
Hmm.
because it's such a release and it's such just like, wow. It's like just letting go and being really true to every part of you.
Yeah. And that's really the amazing part. What you just said is like every part of you, like the you know the child, the wild woman, the wolf, um,
The goddess,
the goddess,
the
the rebel.
shadow,
Yeah,
the wounded healer. It's all in us, and poetry is just such a great way of letting them express themselves and be present with you.
yeah. And I mean, when I first started doing this, it took me a minute before I actually believed that could actually be done in 17 syllables. And then as I got more into the practice of doing it, the poignant messages that were coming through me were so thought provoking and heart provoking that I finally surrendered to the whole process.
Well, with that as well, do you feel like it helped you understand the wildness and the craziness and the chaos in the world?
I do, yes, because there's so much flurry going on around all of the pain and the crazy events that are happening. That taking those moments to really just sit down and focus on um, what it means to be living and what it means to be in this life has definitely given me more of a passion to want to ignite that within other people, because one of the things that I really believe is that through individual empowerment, that is one way of making the world better. Because when people feel like they're living in line with their true selves, then they are making better decisions about every aspect of their life, because they feel worthy, they feel like they matter, and it's easier to not get swallowed up by the craziness of these systems that we live in.
Would you like to share a poem or a haiku or some writing about dealing with the craziness?
Sure. So this is something that I wrote in light of what happened, the events in Paris, and it is: when darkness blinds us, our only choice is to fight more fiercely for light.
Again, speechless. And
Thank you.
it's interesting. And right now there's so much darkness. And the more we just say, focus on the light, focus on the love, know that everybody is in this together. I mean, that's a thing that always kind of makes me wonder. We're stuck on this one tiny little planet
Hmm.
and we can't get along.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's blinding. It's blinding. The a lot of the messages that we receive through, more through media and more open lines of communication. It's just, I feel like if we don't take the time to get a good sense of who we are and the love that exists within us and the fierceness that exists within us to change the way the world is, then um, it's easy to get swallowed. It's easy to get swallowed up in the despair and the true darkness. And I think that in order for us to heal, we just really need to find that willingness, that warrior spirit within ourselves.
And speaking of wounded healers, to you, is there any downsides to writing poetry to really expose that vulnerability,
Mm.
wounds that are lurking underneath?
It's an interesting question, because I think I probably would have answered it differently, a few years ago. But through the work I've done, through the decision to dive deeply into the creative aspects of myself, I'm really just excited to be able to do it. I mean, it doesn't scare me anymore to show my vulnerability, especially through my words. It's almost more liberating than anything else to be able to show my wounds, show my scars, own them, not be afraid of them, and hopefully, you know, touch other people in a way where they will see that all of the aspects of ourselves are beautiful, and they coexist together. And being vulnerable, I think, is one of the strongest things you can ever do.
It makes you more authentic.
Yeah. And it makes you more real. Like it
Yeah.
makes you able to connect with people more because instead of building walls, you're tearing them down. And that is, I mean, that's one of the most energizing things for me about, being able to write this way is that it makes me feel connected to other people.
Um, and that's it. I mean, that's something about poetry that I found is when you're being really authentic and you're being that vulnerable, you feel it. You feel the poetry. It's just not words.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it becomes more alive.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like they breathe on their own.
Yes.
And you're a vehicle for helping them get into existence, but they're there and they want to be there. It's very, I don't know, it's shocking and mesmerizing all at the same time.
Yes. And as we said, you sit back and go, wow, did I write that? Okay, all right. Have you ever started just writing 17 syllables and then all of a sudden it led to almost like a conversation within yourself?
Yeah, I have had that experience. I've had that feeling of not wanting to stop, and then there's something in me that says, don't finish the story. Leave it where it is. Let other people finish the story once they read it. And so I have definitely had themes over different days when I'm writing that are almost kind of in response to something that I may have written like a day or two before.
Hmm.
But recently I've been giving myself a little bit more space, and I've been exploring a little bit more writing more than that than haiku, doing more than 17 syllables. And I've really enjoyed doing that, and I think that as we move forward and I write more poetry, I probably will be a little bit more carefree in the structure and the way in which I write the words. They may be 17 syllables still, but just really letting myself get in and like dance around and feel what it's like to curl up in all of the little corners and let those words come out. So I'm kind of excited about that. That was something that we started the show off with, and that was fun.
Do you think or do you feel that you're more comfortable with yourself because of your poetry writing?
I do. I feel like I know myself a lot better than I used to. Or I should say I feel like I'm accepting myself a lot more than I used to. Accepting the fierceness, the passion,
The
heart,
sensuality?
the sensuality. Oh yeah, that too. The desire to, want to be in relationships that um, honor and see those different aspects in each other. And that's been really, I mean, that's actually been life changing for me because I've always kind of felt aspects of that, but I would sometimes fall back into what I thought the mold of relationships are, and knowing that we have the power within us to create whatever we want based on whoever we are. It's been inspiring and it's been comforting as well because I don't want to live within any molds anymore. I just want to be free and wild and rebellious and loving and all of those different things that we can be in the world and with each other.
I'm going to have you end the show pretty soon with another haiku. But first, what kind of advice or suggestions would you say to others who are thinking about writing poetry?
I guess my biggest piece of advice would be don't be afraid of the words that are asking to move through you. When you are sitting and breathing and listening to what wants to flow through your fingertips, just let it come out. Let it be what it is. And even if it scares you, just let it be. And then with each time um, you gain a little bit more courage and you get a little bit braver, and soon you are just really aligning yourself with that creative, unique voice that you have, that really just wants to be free in the world.
Awesome. And what is your first? I want you to say how people can get in touch with you and read your wonderful work. And also, then if you could finish up the show with a haiku.
Sure. So if you to read my work, please friend me on Facebook. I'm under Brandie Smith, BrandieSmith, comma writer. Or please follow me on Instagram as well, because I definitely post all of my poetry on there. And my name on there is Shanti D, Shantid. And I'm going to. Oh, and also I should say this. If you are interested in seeing some amazing writing from anything from poetry to people just being really vulnerable in the stories they're sharing, then come and check out sometalkofyouandme.com, because there's a lot of amazing words that are living on there every day. And then I think I'll end with this. It's a little bit longer than a haiku, but something that I've been really resonating with lately. Wrapped in your stare, I try to look away, but our hearts are melded, my eyes prisoners to the fire in our souls.
And with that, Brandie Smith, writer, poet, goddess, witness, beautiful person. Overall, I thank you for being on Abstract Illusions Radio. You are such a blessing, and I thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't tell you what a heartfelt honor it's been, and I actually have tears in my eyes right now.
Awesome!
Thank
Awesome!
you.